Okay. Well, thank you very much. I want to talk today a little bit about data visualization, and in particular our journey to try and present more stronger visuals in our research outputs, and also the aim to try and tell our stories much more succinctly in the one-slide story. So I'm Peter Harris from Vision Critical, and I'm a career market researcher and marketer, and I think one of the most amazing things that I've seen just recently was this Museum of Me, which is an Intel social media thing which was sent to me on Facebook. If you have a chance to have a look through that, the Museum of Me actually tells a much better story in a very visual sense for you to learn more about me than me simply speaking to you. So what this does is I was able to click on this and be able to, in about under a minute, this app was able to collect information from my Facebook site and could then explain to you or show you very visually a little bit about the friends that I hang out with in my museum. It can talk to you a little bit about the brands that I like, the videos that I like, the pictures that I've seen that I really like, so you can get a little bit more learning around the things that I like and how I spend my time. The words that I use a lot, so you can use all the words of the updates that I've used over the last short while on Facebook. You can have a look at all the different friends and the people that I kind of hang out with in the social media space. So you can then, I guess, get a bit of a better understanding of what I am like. And I think that Museum of Me is a great introduction to what I'm talking about, which is how do we use data visualization to tell the stories that we want to do, that we want to tell. So why do we want to tell these stories in a much more succinct fashion? Well, I was putting this presentation together. I happened to read Research World, and the editor, Simon Chadwick, was talking in May and June around getting creative. And you can see there that never before was there a more pressing need for a profession to show its creative side. And I think what he was talking about there is that our job really is to stimulate. We get a very short time to tell our stories to the people that use our research. And we need these stories to be really much more creative than they currently are now. My point with this presentation is that we can do that using data visualization tools, and I'm going to show you 3 of the ones that we're using right now. So I guess my journey being involved in and out of marketing and market research over the last 20-odd years, the ultimate is to be able to tell our story in one slide, which is a very difficult thing for those of us that do research. There's always lots of information to get out that we put a lot of time into, but how do we actually get that down to a very succinct story? So can we do that? Is it fact or fiction? Well, hopefully it is something that we can do. Things I've tried over the years is, very cleverly trying to put 3 different pieces of information into one slide. There you can see there's 3 different trend charts about why Australian consumers are deciding to deleverage. So you can see there 3 charts or 3 lots of information in one slide. That can tell a story, and that's one way, but there's also a lot of other ways that you can do that. This is another thing I've tried, which is have a really interesting picture and set it up. This was how the banks in the US were positioning themselves prior to the GFC, and we can try and tell a bit of a story by by impact of words. So fail. This Citibank Live Richly was certainly a failure in terms of positioning what it could look like these days. Again, trying to get our point across here in one slide using images and a few percentages. So the story here is that just post the GFC, the Australian government spent $10 billion trying to stimulate the economy. The story here you can see is a bit of a dig at the then Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, where 48% of Australians received some form of benefit, but only 15% again made a significant difference. That's again trying to tell the story in a visual way, but there's a lot more information that needed to be told in that story. Here's another way. We've got 4 different continents or 4 different countries, and talking about how confident they are about the future of each of their economies. You can see there a good portrayal of Australians much more confident than Canadians. And certainly you could visually see the gap between how Canadians and Australians are feeling in terms of confidence compared to Brits or Americans. But again, when we look at something like that, we might ask, well, what do males and females think, or what different groups within those countries think? And again, we can't tell that on the one slide. So there's a real challenge to actually use to be able to tell a story in one slide, and trying to have a look now at 3 concepts we're using to be able to tell more of a story using a single slide. So the first example here is a regional story. So you might wonder what country that is. So take a look at that. Who can tell me what country that is? Well, looking at that, it's all the different territories of Canada. And the idea here is this is the one slide where we ask everyone who your favourite Renaissance artist is. And as I slide over Quebec, it could give me what people in Quebec think on that chart. If I wanted to know what people in British Columbia think in that, I'll just see whether I can get this to work. It seems to want to work. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. I want to present a story about who your favourite Renaissance artist is, and I can show here if I want to talk about people in Quebec province. You can see there that Leonardo is the favoured Renaissance artist there. If I switched over to British Columbia, I can see that Michelangelo and Splinter are the 2 more favoured Renaissance artists. If somebody asked me in Alberta what was the difference, it's got a bit of delay on that. If I wanted to ask what the Northwest Territories thought, I could see there that Raphael was the highest, most favoured Renaissance artist. And again, over here in Newfoundland maybe, we can see there that again Michelangelo and Leonardo were the favoured Renaissance artists. What this shows is that to try to tell a regional story, we could actually, using the one slide, using data visualization, in this sense, we can show the differences between states. Okay, I'm just going to move on now. This is another example if we wanted to show different customer profiles. So this is an example asking again Canadians what the biggest concern was regarding the economy. Historically, we may have to show this in 10 or 12 slides, what different segments that we've got, different political party, what they saw as important. But again, using this one slide, we could actually mouse over the red, which is the total, so we can see unemployment's the most important thing there, and also taxes. If we wanted to change and have a look at another party, we could mouse over what the NDP people thought, and again, you can see the data checking there. So we click to change the segment on and highlight the NDP party, and we can see they're more worried about the value of the Canadian dollar and also inflation. And again, if we wanted to have a look at what independents think, we could show on this one slide again that they're very concerned about unemployment. The idea here is, again, we don't move around lots of different slides. We actually show it all on the one slide. My final example here today to really trying to show you what data visualization is like, and again there's a link there that you could go to have a look at this. But if you think about trying to tell a story around a product or a concept test, these are one of the more difficult ones to show. They always require 30 different slides, what do different people think about it. But this is a way that we've developed where you could actually use a heat map. So you can see here this is a heat map output, and people have been asked to say which part of this concept for a new runner do you like, or which of the words that actually you like in this description. This output slide shows a heat map, so you can see where things are more heavily the areas of the shoe that people actually highlighted, and the words that people highlighted. You can see it with the colour. So they're highlighted in the heat map there. There's filtering. There's word clouds about what people think about different parts of the concept, and also some verbatims. What this will do, all on the one slide through this little data visualization tool would allow us to create a little square. So we would actually create this little rectangle over the concept itself, and we can see there automatically that 65% of respondents actually highlighted this as one of the areas of the concept they were interested in. Or again, with the words, you make a little polygon, and we can see there that 25% of the people that evaluated this concept highlighted these words as well. Again, what we're trying to do is try and make it as visual as possible, so we can make the colours highlighted more in terms of the depth so we understand what people liked and what they didn't like. We could change the data to show what everyone thought they liked about the concept, or people on their first click, their second click, or the fourth click. That's all within this one data visualization tool. And again, we could actually cut this data by age or by gender or by subgroup, whatever that we like. We could actually show different formulations of what people liked and didn't like. Again, just trying to tell this story in a much more engaging way than a traditional way to show concept tests, which is a whole lot of charts on likability. With this tool and as a presentation tool, we can also, as we highlight different parts of the shoe and show that this 75% of people, these are the words that people actually related to that concept, and also here are some of the verbatims. So if you can imagine ourselves presenting this to a group of stakeholders, our hope is that they will take a lot more attention, they will pay a lot more attention to this type of data output than again presenting the 30 slide story. So the idea is again based around that in research and in most presenting, we have a very short time to actually get our point across. In the same research world copy for May and June that I was talking about, the SMR magazine, there was an interview with Sir Ken Robinson talking about creativity in research, and he talks about it as that creativity really is a bottom line issue. What he was talking about there was that actually if we could actually get greater engagement with our presentations, provide greater understanding, and get more people to notice our outputs of research, then we're actually going to be able to sell more research, get more people involved in research, because our reputation of being a profession that just churns out long, boring debriefs might change. And I think he's right there. So I'm thinking with lots of different people across our business and across our profession to try and find new approaches to presenting data. Why are we doing that? We're trying to improve the impact and create improved understanding for the people that actually want to go ahead and use this data. So that's it in terms of thoughts on this presentation. I guess it's one of the challenges I had today was to try and get all this story into 14 minutes. And hopefully left you with some ideas about new approaches to presenting data and our ability or our journey towards trying to tell our story in one slide. Thank you.